Thanks for coming back on with me. This is actually the first night and part one of our heart condition series. For a couple of years now, maybe 2 years or so, God just put on my heart one day. I just started saying it's a heart thing. It's a heart thing and dealing with matters of the heart. And it started off as just like a hashtag, you know, that I would do on some of my posts. And then before I knew it, it was almost like it was on every post. And I really, as God started dealing with me, I started realizing like everything in life, like whether it's business, whether it's life, whether it's relationships, whether it's work, all of that stuff comes down to the conditions of your heart. And everything is a heart thing. And so I just really wanted to talk about that when I'm doing life coaching, if I'm doing business coaching, which I do a lot because that's my daytime thing. A lot of times we're trying to discuss the business with the entrepreneurs, but we find ourselves dealing with life issues and heart issues most of the time, because we know that if you want to have a successful business, you have to have some organization and some peace and all that stuff in your life before you can translate that into a successful and thriving business. You have to be thriving as an individual. And so that's how this kind of came about. So tonight's conversation, like I said, is called Heart Conditions, but it was inspired from a book that I read a couple of years ago. And it's one of my favorite books in the whole wide world. And it's by one of my favorite authors, who is Andy Stanley, who is a pastor. And he writes some amazing books, but this particular book is called Enemies of the Heart. And I've read this book maybe I think this might be my third time reading this book, but for some reason, God just kept bringing me back to this book. And originally when I went and read the book the first time, I had already started the It's a Heart thing. And so for God to lead me to this book, it just changed everything for me. And it is so critical, the issues that's discussed in the book. And so I'm not sure why my comments, can you see your comments on your side? My comments keep going off. Facebook is doing some crazy things since last week with the issues. But anyway, so tonight, like I said, the book is by Andy Stanley and it's called Enemies of the Heart. And although this discussion is inspired by the book, a lot of these thoughts are just the conversations, like I said, that Malika and I have had, the things and thoughts that it has brought up over time as we're reading the book. And I just called Malika one day. I said, you have to read this book. And it started that whole conversation. And I said, you know what? That needs to be the next series for My Story Mondays. So, of course, we know it's Thursday. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to ask you this question. How are you, Malika? How are you? And you all well. in the chat, in the comments, how are you all? That's what I want to know.
I am doing well. I am so very thankful that you asked me to come on and speak with you. I always enjoy it. You always have such great topics. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm doing good. I'm doing good today. Just recently celebrated my 43rd birthday. I know I look like I'm 25. I know I look like I'm 25.
You do. Well, happy birthday. Y'all tell Malika happy birthday in the comments.
Thank you.
Well, like I said, happy birthday, but I am just excited. So one of the questions that we ask people all the time, you can just be walking by somebody in a store and somebody say, how you doing? Most of the time, they don't even wait for a response or even maybe expect a response. It's just natural that we say, how are you doing? And the normal response is what?
Good, fine.
Good, fine, something like that. But has anybody ever asked you this important question? And it might be the first time. I know I asked you this when we started reading the book, but for many, it may be the first time that anyone has ever asked you this question. And so instead of saying, how are you? I'm going to ask you, how is your heart? How is your heart?
When I start reading this book, I asked myself that question. And I did not answer myself I didn't know at the time, because I asked myself that seriously, not how do I feel in this moment, but truly, like, how is my heart? I did not answer it. I didn't come back to it. But now that you're asking me, and I will answer not from a today perspective, but I will just say for the last several weeks, I have experienced in my heart heaviness, but gratefulness as well. I've also noticed in the last several weeks, it's hard to balance both. That's how my heart is doing.
Well, I'm glad that you actually went through and thought about the question, because when I started reading the book and the question was asked, how's your heart? I thought about it. I thought about it and I was like, you know what? And I kind of started going through it in my head. But then I realized later on, like, I never answered the question for myself. Right. And so I had to really go back, because as you're reading through the book, it doesn't really do you any good to continue to read through the book if you haven't examined your own heart. And so when I asked myself, how's your heart? I think for me, when I say it's a heart thing, like I said, I think that everything goes back to the heart, how you treat people, how you feel, the things that come out of you, which we'll talk about, all of that stuff goes back to the heart. And so for me, I always feel like, I treat people right. And I respect people. I love people. I'm compassionate. I'm giving. I'm all this stuff. But that's not necessarily only the condition of your heart. And the thing I said in the post is the condition of your heart actually determines the condition of your life. If your heart is not right, if your heart is not clean, then those other things bleed through. And so in asking myself, how's your heart? That has been really challenging for me to answer. And while I'm answering this, you all in the comments, I want you all to tell us, how is your heart? Put your comments in there. I want to know how your heart is. And so for me, my heart, I honestly, if I'm going to be totally transparent, I cannot fully answer that question even right now. I think that, like I said, I feel like, I'm in a good place. I'm not angry with anybody. I'm not bitter with anybody. I'm not jealous of anyone. But there's some other things in my heart that need to be dealt with. It's been a really trying year for me, as far as just some personal things. Losing my best friend in March. I think that has been one of the things that I haven't really addressed it. And that's just me in general. I tend to avoid pain, or I tend to not address it. And I didn't realize this till recently. But I just feel like I live my life where I've experienced so many traumatic things and some great things as well. But I go from one situation to the next. I go from one experience to the next, one job to the next, whatever. And I hadn't really started evaluating and examining things about myself like that until I started writing my book, which is how the book came about. And I started learning things about me and lessons in life. But that heart thing for me right now, my heart is, I feel it's full of joy. I will say that no matter what's going around, it's full of joy. I've had a lot of peace, but during this journey I'm in right now, I've been doing some deep work, like that shadow work, the deep pieces of me that haven't been addressed, the things that I didn't even know were issues. And so my heart is open. My heart is, I feel love, but I'm also in a place where I almost feel like it's paralyzed in some ways. Like it's numb in a lot of ways. And so that's what I'm working in now. So,
okay.
So let me see what's in the comments. TJ said, my heart is open. My heart is already is ready to receive. Yes, Demetria. How is your heart, everybody? So going a little deeper. One of the things, when you say, how are things with your heart, and I'm going to be looking in my notes because I took a ton of notes while reading. When I ask you, how's your heart, I'm not asking you like, how's your career? How's your finances? How's your family? I'm asking something deeper. And when someone asks you, how's your heart, which is why it was so challenging for us to answer, it causes you and forces you to go deep within. You have to go inward. It's not something, you know, a lot of times when you think about those things, people look at, well, my job is going good. I'm being successful over here. My children are behaving. I'm not having any financial issues. So I'm good. But it takes sometimes different things to really bring it out. So one of the things that Andy Stanley said in the book I think was inspired for him, where he had an issue where he was laying in bed one night and his heart was just skipping beats and having all these palpitations and all of that stuff. And to the point where he felt like it would stop and then it would start again, and he was really nervous. So the next day he got up, he went to the doctor, and the doctor was going through all of these questions about, are you doing anything differently and all this stuff? And he was like, no. Well, after a while of asking questions and the consultation with the doctor, he said, well, I did get a steroid shot recently. And so the doctor realized that it was a steroid shot that was causing the heart palpitations and for it to skip a beat. And he said, you know what, don't worry about it. Go home, and eventually the steroid will work its way out of your body. And then it made him think like, okay, yeah, just like the steroid will work its way out of our body, how often do people have heart issues and they don't know it's an issue until it's too late or it's too far gone? And so how many things, a lot of times people treat life and treat their heart, not the heart that's beating behind your ribs and your chest, but the heart that's been broken, the heart that you had all of these expectations that didn't come to pass, the heart that lost a loved one and you haven't really been able to move past that and you're grieving. Even the heart that you're loving your children with, the same heart that when your husband walks through the door that you just feel the butterflies and all that stuff, that's the heart I'm talking about. And so whenever you know, you're dealing with those issues of the heart, a lot of issues don't work itself out unless you address the deeper issues. So what does that bring to mind for you?
Right. There was a point in the book, because remember I said I asked myself the question, how was my heart? And I really couldn't answer it because it's hard. It's hard to, and I'm one of those, like when I do something, so this is me standing in the mirror, glasses off, staring at myself like, Malika, looking at myself in my own eyes, how is your heart? And Jesus. There was a part in the book where he talked about an internal battle. And this is what really hit home for me. He said, you know, when you have an internal battle because it comes out in forms of in conversation, like, oh, I can't believe I said that, or I can't believe I did that, or I don't know what's come over me. That was a key thing for me, because I will catch myself saying something or doing something. Oh, why did I say it like that? Why did I? Okay, I have the issue of my heart that I haven't addressed. And I was so glad that I saw that part, because I felt like, because I was like, Lord, I don't really know. Like, I don't know. I want to know, but I don't know. Yeah. And when I saw that part in the book, or actually I listened to it because I did the audio book, I was like, ooh, okay. So for me going forward, if I hear myself say that, I'm going to know that I have an internal battle. And I'm going to know that, you know, I need to check myself. I need to check my heart.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. TJ said the abundance of the heart speaketh. That's true. That's in the Bible. Cedric said, my heart has been a roller coaster of tests, trials, and love. I'm very thankful and grateful. And I just think that's one of those things, like when you have a grateful and a thankful heart, you're going to have issues. You're going to have the ups and downs. You're going to have all of that. But when you have a core belief and faith system, even in the midst of that stuff of going up and down with emotions, you still have joy, and you still can be grateful, and you still can be thankful. And one of the things that the book talks about, and this was one of the prominent things that, like, each time I've read the book, this has been one of the things that really stuck out in my mind, where it said that you know, as children, we're taught to manage our behaviors. And so when you're taught to manage your behavior, so I'm gonna let y'all know now, Malika has a bunch of little children. And so I see her looking around. So she has to go on mute a couple times and all that stuff. It means I'm sure somebody's in the background calling mommy.
Thank you.
We'll work with it. So that's why I need y'all to talk to me, because she might slip away from me a couple times. But he was saying that as children, we're taught to manage our behavior and modify our behavior and not our hearts. And so in monitoring our behavior, we learn subconsciously and just through the experiences that if we behave well, then good things happen. If we behave badly, then bad things happen. And those bad things, for me, it was spankings and, well, we call them whoopings, but whoopings and spankings and all that other stuff, punishment, that kind of thing. But what it taught me was not necessarily, no one really said, how's your heart, what's going on with you? It taught me not to act out and to behave, but not to deal with the core. And what happens when you're not dealing with the core and you're taught to modify your behavior and not to monitor your heart, then when it comes out, you begin pretending. And you turn into adults who begin pretending, that you walk around with these things going on in you, but you're monitoring your behavior. You know, you're not lashing out in public. You're not saying what's really on your mind or in your heart, or maybe you do, you know, but you monitor your behavior to manage and maintain your reputation and your image. But that doesn't mean that it's not something deeper. It does not mean that just because you're successful on the outside, it doesn't mean that just because you talk a good game and you make these great Facebook posts and quotes and scriptures of I'm so successful and I'm doing this and my heart is joyful, it doesn't mean that it's always true. A lot of times we've learned to pretend to maintain our image and our reputation. And so when you were talking about how a lot of times you caught yourself saying things and be like, was that really me? You know, why did I say that? That's not even really how I think. Just like TJ said, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So right. a lot of that stuff is actually in our hearts, whether we like to believe it or not.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I was definitely thinking about, and I am a habitual pain masker. Like I'm not talking, I'm not saying nothing. I'm just gonna sit in it, whatever it is. And I've been that way for a really long time, trying very desperately to get out of that space. Because what happens is, and he talked about this in the book as well, like the more you don't address things, the more they sit there, the worse they become. Okay. And so just that part right there, I had to go all the way back and sit and think like, okay, Malika, when did you not deal with something that caused you a great amount of pain? How long ago was that? Are you still carrying that? Did you ever address it? And you know, for me, a couple of years ago, and I'm what you call like a shelver. I think that's what it's called, a stacker shelver, where I just take all my emotions and just like that pretty background you have with all the stuff on the shelf. Oh, okay, this happened. Okay, I'm gonna sit this here. Oh, okay, that happened. Yeah, that hurt my feelings. Okay, I'm gonna sit that there. I'm not gonna deal with it. But one day, a couple of years ago, everything in my life just came crumbling down. And God was like, oh, you're gonna deal with this. You're going to deal with this. You can't even get to what I have for you if you don't deal with this. And I'm like, what? And so, but it was so very needed and so very important, because what I realized is all of that masking that I have learned to do, putting on a show, hi, how are you? Knowing that my heart is broken on the inside. Guess who carried that over into their marriage? Guess who carried that over into other friendships? Guess who carried that over into relationships with her siblings? And I'm like, okay, I got 3 boys. I can't do this. My boys have changed me so much, but it's like, I can't do this. I don't want to teach them not to communicate. Just even recently, I was telling a friend earlier, you know, I've been teaching my boys the importance of saying how they feel, especially when they want to express love. It's okay to say, I love you to man or woman. Like if that's how you feel. You know, I was talking to my almost 13-year-old about this. He'll be 13 in a few weeks. But I was telling him, you know, if you love someone, you love your friend, it's okay to say that. Don't feel like you are thinking it, but why would you do that?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just learning myself how to talk, how to be, how to deal with those issues of the heart, in wisdom and for real. That is just something that, and I'm so glad, if I haven't thanked you already, I'm so glad you turned me on to this book, because it is literally changing my life. Now, sometimes I got to stop listening to it because maybe he said something that I don't like and I got to deal with it. But but it's awesome. If you're a person who's looking for growth or to be a better version of yourself, specifically in your heart, this is a great read. Great read.
Yes, it is. TJ said the strongest hearts have the most scars. Absolutely. And I believe a lot of that is because the scars, if handled properly, and this is what we're going to be talking about. If you manage and you handle those heart problems that we're talking about, then you do become stronger. The issue is when you don't. Just like we talked about, a lot of times we look at people and we're thinking they're healthy because they're skinny, they're healthy, or because they're this, they're healthy.
Right.
A lot of times, the appearance has nothing to do with your health. So it's a lot of people who are heavier that are way healthier than a lot of smaller people. So it does not really prove that you're healthy. And what happens is that when the heart is not checked, when you don't do those heart checks, like you just said, then what's inside, the real you, eventually begins to seep out, and it seeps out into your actions, your character, your relationships, all of that. Hello, Brenda. Let's see. Clemisha said, so me up until this year. I think she was talking about you, Felicia. Malika. I feel free now. Thanks for the transparency. Cedric said, dealing with the issues of the heart helps with your mental health. Absolutely. It's all connected. The heart is the mind. Come
on, Fed. Yes, it does.
The heart is the mind. And so, like you said, left unchecked, it's going to get worse, just like that heart condition. And so when we talk about the heart and those issues of the heart, and it gets to a point where those things overpower your heart, true heart overpowers your behavior and your ability to hide it and monitor it and modify it. And so in those cases, you really have to learn how to identify the core of the problem, of the heart problem. And so, like, whenever you have a physical heart condition, okay, a lot of times you're having the issue, okay, but the issue, you don't know it's your heart because it shows up in other symptoms. And so I've heard of people having heart conditions and having bad hearts, but it was a long time and it went untreated because it came out as back issues or the inability to sleep or loss of appetite and things like that. And they didn't realize that it was connected to the heart. And when I thought about that, how often does that happen in our lives where we're dealing with the symptoms of things, the anger, somebody does something to make you mad. It's not that what they did really made you mad. It could be something that has gone unaddressed for a long time, has built up over time. It's even an example of, somebody having or getting a new promotion or a job or getting a new car, and your inability to say, congratulations, I like your car, or to compliment them or congratulate them. And it may not even really have anything to do with that person, but maybe it's something in you that's upset because you feel like, why don't I have a new car? Why don't I have this? Why didn't I get the promotion? And it comes out in your actions. And that is the kind of stuff that that creates toxic hearts.
Yeah, for sure. And two, just walking around with a heart that is that you have not treated, that will all those physical symptoms that you were talking about. I have been physically ill in and out of hospitals and doctors and emergency rooms and extended hospital stays before my last two children. Just sick, passing out, throwing up, all these things, all the nausea, everything. And every time I went to the hospital, and every time, with the exception of maybe once where they told me I had food poisoning. They can never find a thing. Yeah. They can never find a thing. They can never find a thing. And I just remember the last time that this happened, I was so frustrated. And I just remember asking God, what is it? What is it? What is wrong with me? They can't find anything. I don't know what's wrong. God, please heal my body. I'm tired. I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to be a wife. I'm trying to be a mother to these children. I'm trying to be a boss at work. I'm trying my best. But what is wrong? I could not understand. And God, there's some issues that you have not dealt with, and you're carrying these things. It is killing you. I said, okay. All right. I went ahead and got some counseling quickly. I know that's not some things that Black folks don't like to talk about, counseling, but I went in a hurry because my thing is God blesses people to do so many different things well. There's a counselor, there's a therapist out there for me. There's a therapist assigned for me for such a time as this. And I know, people, especially with, Black church, just pray and seek the Lord. Okay, you could do that too. But what about the people that he has blessed and anointed to walk you through your life's journey? So I got myself together very quick, and I found a wonderful therapist who I've been with for several years. And it is the best thing that I could ever have done, because I'm not walking around with those heart conditions anymore. I haven't been in the hospital. I haven't been sick. I haven't been throwing up, and I'm still working through that, which is part of the reason why I'm so emotional. But it is so critical. It is so, we're out here sick, ill, and doctors just don't know. It's the issue of your heart. You got to figure that out. Yeah. It's so very important.
It is.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, that's real. And that's what happens when you get to this place. And that's a good place to be. And it's a painful place. And what you just expressed, the emotion you just expressed, is one of the things that keeps so many people from actually going to that place that you are, and seeking the help, because they don't want certain things to come out. Sometimes they feel like it's, and I'm not saying that I said they, but we, because me too, you feel like by avoiding things. And my thing is, I didn't never really felt like I was avoiding anything. I just go on with life.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm intentionally avoiding anything. It's, for me, in my head, I look at it as like, I ain't tripping on that. It is what it is. They gonna be who they are. I'm going on with my life. But at the core of it, later on, it shows up possibly in different ways. When left unaddressed. And so that's where I am, where I've been digging up stuff. And just like you said, with therapy and counseling, and the Black community has not really been receptive of that in the past. It's changing now. It's changing now, and everybody, people are proud when they say, I'm going to a therapist now. And I think that is phenomenal.
Let me tell you something. I'm sorry, not to cut you off. When I'm having conversations with people and they mention, I talked to my therapist, or I've been in therapy. You know what goes in my, what I think about? I think about, so you trying to be a better version of yourself. Because I know what therapy is. And I know when you stick with it and when you're consistent, what happens. And I always think, like, even though I may not tell them that, I'm always like, you trying to be a better version of yourself. That's what's up. Because it's not something that we're taught. I wasn't taught, and this is a conversation that it stemmed from another conversation I had with one of my best friends. But, I had a conversation with my son, and I said, listen, there may be a time in your life where things may not make sense. There may be a time in your life where you feel anxious or you feel overwhelmed. There may be a time in your life where things are not just going how you planned. And when that time comes, it is okay for you to talk to someone outside of myself and your father, whatever family member you have, whatever friend you may have. Sometimes you got to work through stuff on your own, but not necessarily by yourself. That means go do it in private. Do what you need to do. And if you feel like telling somebody, because that's your business, you tell them later. But I need you to know that it's okay to go in while you're in prayer. it's okay to go talk to somebody else. And he's just like, okay, mom. And my thought was, Lord, I hope and I will tell him that again in life, but I hope he remembers that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good advice. Definitely good. You all in the comments, come on in and talk to us. I see some new people coming in. I see some likes. Thank you for engaging with us. But tell me, how do you all feel about therapy? Do you feel that that's something, if you've done it or if you've never done it, is that something that you would consider? Is that something that you feel like everybody should have? Is it something you feel like it's case by case? I personally think that everybody should go through some level of therapy, because what therapy does is it pulls things out of you that you didn't know were there. So I'll give mine. I have never shared this with anyone, but in a therapy session, I went into therapy. When I went into therapy like, these are the issues I'm dealing with, and I'm coming in, I'm going to tell them what my issues are, and you're going to help me fix these things about me or in my life that I feel aren't going well.
So you think.
So I go into, especially with me being a life coach, you know what I mean? Like, me being a life coach, I think I know all the exercises, I know all the tools. So I go into the session and I get ready, and she starts asking the different questions. And so I'm like, by the end of the session, I'm kind of like, okay, hello. We didn't even talk about what I wanted to talk about. 3 months into my sessions, the issues that I thought were issues never came up. But what I realized at the things that were coming up, it was a core, and the other stuff that I thought I was going to be talking about was a symptom. So she wasn't even concerned with addressing what I came in there to talk about. And that really opened my eyes to a lot, because a lot of times we think that we know it all, and you have to be open to looking at things from a different perspective and opening up your mind. And I know when we started, one thing TJ said is that when I said, how is your heart? He said, it's open. Demetra said, it's ready to receive. You know, and you have to be open, and you have to be ready to receive, because when you go in with thoughts on, I'm going to tell the therapist what's going on with me. Now, I'm gonna tell you one issue that came up with me, and this was a checker. I don't like anybody putting labels on me. I don't put no label on me. I'm a free spirit. I like to do stuff. I don't like committing. Don't be putting, and I'm one of the people that be like, don't be speaking that on my life. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
So when I was in therapy, she started putting terms and saying terms, and I'm like, wait a minute. Ain't that for crazy
anxiety,
people? You know, and that was the issue that she kept saying. She asked me, do you deal with anxiety? And even to this day, I struggle with, is this anxiety? Because I don't feel like I be, you know, maybe I don't look at the right way, like I'm stressed out and all this stuff. And I don't feel like it's anxiety. But the way that she broke it down, it was like, maybe I do, you know, deal with a little bit of anxiety. Hold on, I'm read some of these. TJ said, Anya said, therapy is necessary. Absolutely. TJ said, looking for a therapist now. I have some I can recommend you. Demetra said spiritual mentors as well. Absolutely. I'm glad you said that, Demetra. And that is one of the key things that I made sure. It took me a long time to find a therapist, and I prayed about it because, number one, I wanted it to be, I didn't care if it's a man or a woman, but I wanted them to be Christian. I wanted to have the same faith and the same principles. So that was important to me. To be honest, I didn't mind having a white therapist, but I preferred to have a Black therapist. That was my preference, because I feel like it's some things that the Black culture deal with and experience, that I felt like I wanted somebody who could understand me, you know, certain things that are done and said in our culture. I didn't want to have the barrier of me saying this thing, you know, just saying, hey, sometimes my parents yelled at me, and people telling me you were verbally abused as a child and stuff like that. And so I kind of wanted it to make sure that it was somebody that understood kind of my culture or had, you know, my best interest in mind. And so it was phenomenal for me. Let me see. Rosalind said, this is really good. Cedric said, my heart is constantly being cross-examined. Judy said, I feel it's for a lot of different issues that people are needing help with as well, for people who are needing, who are dealing with major health issues. I think people do need it, and whether spiritual or a therapist. While I haven't been, Trish said, while I haven't been to therapy myself, I would be willing to go. I'm blessed. Oh no, let's lost it. I'm blessed to have a few people in my life I'm comfortable to open up about, but sometimes an unbiased voice is better than a familiar one. Mom said some people really want to change and don't know how. Absolutely. Only God can truly change your heart. I'm so glad you're leading us into our next topic. She said, we have to give him our pain, etc., and trust God to guide your heart and mind for a pure, complete change. If you feel that you need a therapist, ask God to send the right one. Exactly. Ask God to send the right one. I personally would choose one that knows God. Some therapists can mess you up and make your situation worse. That's absolutely
for
true.
Sure.
You have to have the same. So I want to touch on something that Trish said. She said, I'm blessed to have a few people in my life I'm comfortable enough to open up to or about. So she said something that's key as well, because that was how I felt. I felt like, I might have somebody, I have a couple of people who I can kind of open up to about certain things. But the problem with that is that they weren't skilled to help me. They might be skilled at listening. They might be able to give great advice.
Right.
But if they don't know what to look for and look at patterns, and that's one thing I like about my therapist, she looks at patterns and she can connect it all the way back to childhood and different things. And it really opened me up. And so it was totally different from just getting advice. It was somebody who have the skills and can help you with different exercises to get to the core.
I agree with you 100%. I have a phenomenal inner circle of people that surround me that I can talk to about, very deep things if I need to. However, like what you're saying, so I could talk to them and I could say, this is what happened, da 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 da, and they can say, well, Malika, blah 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 blah, let's pray, whatever. Okay, but if I take that same conversation to my therapist, and I'll just give you an example. I remember this one time. My husband did something. Who knows? I don't know what Solomon did. He did something. And I was carrying on about it. And I remember I called one of my friends and I'm like, girl, she's like, oh yeah, girl, whatever. It's all good. Like, don't dwell on it. Solomon, loves you, whatever, like, we talked about it, whatever. Okay. Well, I wasn't over it. So I went to go talk to him. I had a therapy session. So I went to go talk to my therapist maybe like a couple of days later. And I'm like, oh yeah. And Solomon did, and I haven't been, right since, and da 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 da. And she chuckled at me and she said, oh, okay. She said, so let's talk about the feeling that you have in this particular situation. And I was like, well, I was disappointed. Okay. Well, who first made you feel disappointed when they did this? Because I was mad at him over something petty. In my mind at the time. It was big. I think maybe he kept me, I know exactly what it was. He kept me waiting somewhere. And I was mad. And I'm like, he doesn't have any concept of time, and why this and why that. And so she took it back. Well, who left you waiting when you were younger? Who were you waiting on? And I'm like, oh, lady, you don't know my life. But then again, you do, because I tell you about my business. And the way she broke that thing down, I'm like, oh my gosh. He triggered, he didn't cause it. He maybe triggered it over something that I hadn't gotten over or dealt with or even knew it was an issue from like middle school. And all that. And from that, I just needed to, now then, because I told you earlier, I brought some issues of my heart into my marriage, right? So then I had to go back and say, Saul, you know what? I know that I said X, Y, and Z, and I'm sorry. And that's not you. And Miss Linda, that's my therapist's name. Miss Linda helped me figure this thing out. What I love about Miss Linda is I did not want a Christian therapist. Yes, I love Jesus. Yes, I'm a Christian. I didn't want a Christian therapist. Why? Because I had one before. And I just kept feeling like if this woman quote one more scripture, talk to me, be real, tell me something like, I know the Bible. Give me something else. And so in my prayer time, I'm like, Lord, I want somebody that knows you, but I don't want this Christian therapy. Like I've done that before. It didn't work out well for me. Not for me, it did.
Yeah.
And he pointed me in the direction of Miss Linda, who, when I walk in her room, she hugs me. We pray. We have our session. I've gotten mad, walked out, came back in. We will end on a prayer. Yeah. She's amazing. And she's an older white woman, but our lives are and I never thought that I would be in therapy with someone who literally had been through the same things that I have been. So yeah, it's beautiful. I think your mom put that in the comments. Like if you pray and ask God to lead you towards your assigned therapist, yeah, that I know that for sure. That is a fact.
And Candace Bent said the same thing. Sydney said, this is good, DeJuan. You know for a fact that I suffer from panic and anxiety issues. And the good thing is you can identify it and you know it. So, there are solutions out there. And I know personally that you seek those solutions. So I commend you because a lot of people don't. And it leads to other issues. Let's see. That is good. Who first made you feel something? That is deep. Those triggers. And that's what they say all the time, is different things that trigger you. And that's what allows that stuff to come out of your heart. And one thing that you said, okay, so for me, when I started therapy, it took me a long time. Number one, my family is very well known in the community. So I definitely didn't want anybody local. Because I already know me, I already have an issue with kind of trusting folks and stuff. And so I did not want, so I'm talking to y'all because I'm looking at step away, but I didn't want anyone that knew my family because I wanted to be totally comfortable, to be able to get to the root. And I didn't want to be walking over eggshells because I truly believe, and this is my belief, that everything that's wrong with everybody, it goes somewhere and stems back to some place in your childhood. And I think throughout our lives, that thing is developed, whether it's addressed or not. We develop our personalities, we develop our thoughts and all of that stuff. And our heart is created from those experiences we had as children. And so when I went to therapy, I was excited. I'm not going to tell a story because I'm thinking, oh, I'm about to get in here and I'm about to be fixed. I'm about to be healed. I'm about to be whole and all this stuff. And I wanted to go. I was a little disappointed at first because I want to go and I want to do like the movies. I want to lay on somebody's couch and cry. And I want them to have a little clipboard with the legs crossed with the little glasses and asking me questions as I lay there, and she handed me tissues and all that stuff. Well, because I had to get someone out of town, I ended up doing it virtually. And I didn't think I was just like, I don't know how this is going to be. But it actually works out. It works out. Now, I do want to go lay on her couch. I do. But it's working from where I am. And the thing about it, too, is when I started going to therapy, I didn't tell anybody. And the reason I did not tell anyone is because I know how people are. And people will start judging you and your actions. And this is the kind of thing that they'll say. If you snap or go off on them, I see your therapy ain't working. You need to go back to therapy. And that is going to take me to another place.
There you go.
And going to need me to have some extra sessions. Excuse me. Just a moment. Sorry about that. And so I did not want anyone to know because I did not want anybody judging my progress based and watching me to see if I'm changing. And I wanted it to come naturally. And, and you really know if somebody say, what's something different about you? You're not responding the way you used to respond. You're not reacting. Then I knew like, okay, it's working, Yeah. Let's see. Let me get back in these comments for a second. Someone said, until you heal yourself, you will be toxic to every person that tries to love you. That is so true. That is so true. Angela said, well, she's the one that said that. Let's see. Until you heal, you'll be talking to everyone person. TJ said, give me Linda's number. Now y'all need different therapists. You might be talking about him. She might be able to connect the dots. Penny said, yes, it does. You are exactly right. It goes back to experiences we had in our childhood that were unaddressed.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. Jasmine said, I've been disappointed with my therapy. It's likely because my expectations are too high. I want to, she just said it. That's how I felt. I want to be fixed, which is unrealistic. What would you ladies say we should expect from therapy? So if I'm speaking from myself, and like I said, I'm still in therapy, and I hate I'm even saying it publicly because I ain't want my family to know and all that stuff. just because some things I just said, because I know I will click on them in a minute. And so if I click it on me, they ain't changing and getting better, y'all. Y'all just, God ain't through with me yet. So anyway, but for me, when I went to therapy, just like Jasmine said, I went thinking, I want her to fix some of the issues. Plus, when I went into it, I wasn't going into therapy with any major issues. The reason I started therapy is because I know that I'm a stacker and I don't deal with things. And I know the God's going to bless me with my Prince Charming, honey. He's going to be fine and he's going to be a God man and all that stuff.
Amen.
And
Amen.
I want to make sure that if it's anything in me, not even just a relationship, but before God takes me to the next level that I know he's doing, I don't want to get to the next level and all of those issues. I pull one shoebox out the closet and they just all come tumbling down. So I want to do this on the front end and not wait until I'm in it. Because once you're in it, you go through stages. And this is a question, answering the question you asked, Jasmine. When you're in therapy, what to expect, if you have a good therapist, is they're going to take you, just like Cedric said at the beginning, it's a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
This session is going to be good. The next session, you're going to be wanting to hang, end meeting, leave meeting. The next session, you're going to be crying. I was doing good. The first time she asked me a question and the tears just started flowing. And I'm like, I couldn't stop them. And she said, trigger. And she started digging deeper and it went to something else. And the thing I was crying about that was the symptom. It went deeper. It took me back to something when I was 7 years old that I hadn't identified. And it was linked to different patterns. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I have a pattern in certain areas. Mm-hmm. And because it was unaddressed. So you're going to go up and down. It's a roller coaster. But what it's going to do, you have to, like I said, be open. And Malika, I want you to touch this. You have to be open to be coached. You have to be open to be challenged. You have to be open almost to be criticized. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, when I first started my therapy, even now, she'll bring up these terms. And I'm thinking, you're not about to be speaking this over my life and putting these terms. And so she knew that was a trigger for me, putting these terms and saying you did this, or you might have a bit of this. And I'm like, no, don't be giving me all them little synonyms and all that stuff. And so when I would do that, she was like, okay, let's look it up. And she would pull it up. And she'd be like, didn't you just say this? Didn't we just identify this? Didn't we identify this? And I'm like, and I couldn't deny it at that point. So you have to be willing to be open to be challenged and realize that you're not as bad as sometimes you perceive yourself to be. And also you're not as good as you display yourselves or represent yourself to others sometimes. So what would you say to that, Malika?
For me, I don't know that I even had any real expectations because I was so broken. I remember my first couple of weeks of therapy, I posted a picture on Facebook and somebody commented, beautiful. That was their comment. And in my mind and out of my mouth, I said, beautifully broken. Like I was just so broken and I was so desperate. But I'm one of those where I don't really wear my emotions on my sleeve at all. So I can look like this. I can go to work. Hey, how you doing? Everybody good? And okay, let me do this and let me do that. And I am just like all messed up on the inside. So for me, I just got to a point where, and another thing that played a part in me, when I had my second baby, it was a life or death situation with that. And so I came out of that with some post-traumatic stress disorder. After having him, it was just a mess. I was on a walker for several months. I couldn't walk. I had to have a C-section. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't do so. It was a post-traumatic stress disorder. Plus, it was postpartum depression, and it just all came together. And so, when I found Miss Linda, I'm like, because she asked me, what are your expectations? I don't know right now. Let's just have the sessions. If something don't feel right, I won't return. As long as I feel okay about some of the progress we're making, I'll be here. But what I will say is be prepared. Don't think that you're just going to go and it's going to be cute and you're going to leave. You better be prepared to cry. Be prepared to embrace that pain. You got to, because on the other side of that is healing. And a lot of people don't. The people who think they don't need counseling are the one that need it the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I honestly believe that. I've heard some people speak. Yeah, girl, I don't need no care. And I'm like, oh Jesus, your whole energy screams, I need therapy. But okay. But you have to be open. You got to be ready to go in some very deep places that you don't want to go. That's if you're trying to be a better version of yourself. If you want to go to therapy because it's a trend, or if you want to go to therapy because, whatever reason, it's not going to work. The one thing I tell people, don't lie to your therapist. Don't tell your therapist the same lie that you tell me. If you're not going to go in there and be fully honest and brutally honest and be able to say, I am envious of this, or I don't like that, or I'm, whatever the case may be, it's not going to work. So don't waste your money if you're not willing to be honest and transparent. Nobody, it's just you and the therapist and Jesus.
That's good. Yeah.
Get it out. Whatever you need to say, get it out.
TJ said triggers point where you are not free. That is so true. Let's see. Priscilla said fixing takes time. It does. It's a process.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't put a time on it. You can't say I'm gonna be fixed by this. That's why I want to start now. It may take me years to get to some things. But it's gonna be worth it. My mama said that she knew I was in therapy. She always talking about she knew something. Talking about I'm different. Now I am different. And daddy talking about get a refund. The reason I'm laying on the couch is because of him. Let's be honest. I'm just joking. He has come up. I'm just joking. Let's see. Rosalind says, sometimes we don't know we have deep-seated issues until somebody helps you pull out. That is true. Until you see and feel different. I definitely wear my emotions on my sleeve. Heart conditions can be generational too. Absolutely. Triggers passed down from one generation to another. Some people are afraid to face the reality of their truth. That's true. Jasmine said, I want Linda. Look, I need to tell y'all about my therapist because she good too. I ain't telling you her name because y'all be trying to hack into her files and find out about me. But if you want to know, I do have a referral. Let's see. Candace said you have to be open and you have to be ready to do the work. The other thing I'll say about that, hold on, Ross said you can't change what you are not willing to confront. The other thing I would say, Jasmine, about expectations, like we said, the things we're saying is real. You have to be open, all this stuff. But the thing is, any expectations outside of that you go in with is going to be out the door. Because I'm telling you, you think but a lot of times you might have an idea, but most of the time you don't know. For instance, sometimes I be wishing I could block my parents and my family from my lives, but but I'm being transparent. So one of my things is I have an issue. I don't like to call it issue, but it's an issue. I hold on to a lot. Like I just like a lot of things to the point where I was like, am I a hoarder? But I'm organized. We've talked about this in another live. I'm an organized hoarder. So for me, it's like I started doing my own stuff with my own little exercises that I use with other people for coaching. But it's hard because I'm asking my own self the questions and don't have an outside source. And so I figured it all out, honey. I feel like now this is still a part of it, but I felt like maybe I can't let go of anything because I've lost so much and so many people in my life, and things are what I can control and what I can hold on to. So I had it figured out. That's why I can't get rid of anything. And so throughout, like we end up having like 3 sessions about this. And she was like, you know what? Let me see. I'm like, no, you can't see it. You can't see it. She's like, let me see. And when I showed her, she said, oh my goodness. She said, the way you talk about yourself, she said, that's not the issue. She said, I'm looking at organization. She said, the way your books, the order, the height, and different things. She said, yeah, sometimes things might be out of order, but she said, open up that bin. And I opened up the bin, and she said, open up the other bin. And so a lot of times it's clean or whatever, because I'm just putting stuff in bins because I can't get rid of it. But what it came down to, without going through all the details, what it came down to was she said, that's not the issue. You have an issue with making decisions. She said, and so instead of making a decision about the item, you put it over here for later with hopes of coming back to it. Bingo. That's exactly what it is. Because when I was thinking about the bags with clothes and things in them, I had made up my mind, okay, I'm getting rid of this, but in the bag, some were going to go to charity. Some was going to go to a friend. Some was going to go to this, or some I was just going to throw away, but they're all in one bag. And so each time I did it, am I really going to get rid of this bag? Because it was like I was avoiding making the decision in the moment. So the bags, the totes, they continue to pile. And when she told me that, it was a game changer. So I'm very intentional right now. Like when I have a bag, like, okay, I got to get rid of that, you know? And then what I've been doing is I just take the bag and I put it in the car. You know, once it goes to the car, it cannot come back in, but it's a decision. But what's happening is the decision, because I was able to identify it's a decision-making issue. It goes back to my relationships, being in relationships, knowing they're not good for me, but hanging on because I don't want to make the decision, not because I'm afraid to hurt, because it's like I'm always, it's just like I don't want to make the decision. It's like I'm waiting on them to do that one thing so I can let it go. And then it ends up wasting times and years of my life when I know it wasn't going anywhere and wasn't going to end at the altar. I don't know what's going on with me. Top Malika, top.
I love those types of observations in therapy because we think one thing and then it's something else. Like I went into therapy having a hard time. I'm much better now, but identifying my emotions. I would go in and say, well, I'm upset or I'm frustrated. She's like, no, you're not. You hurt. And it's okay to admit that you're hurt. And it's okay to feel hurt. Now that you are feeling this emotion, what are you going to do about it? I'm like, oh, okay.
That's good.
All right.
And a lot of people show they get angry, especially men. People who are angry are normally, the root of it is a hurt, a disappointment. It's normally, anger is normally the symptom of it. And so it's just so many different things. And so many, like I said, this is going to be at least like a 5-part series. And it's not going to be something we get into tonight. And I know what's wrong with my voice because this actually happens in therapy. And when I get really excited about something, I get really passionate and I just identified that. Oh, like, I guess that triggers me because I've done this in therapy, but it happens when I get really passionate because I start talking through my throat, I guess. So that's funny because I just had that awareness just now, but it's still back from therapy. You know, it's a pattern. And so let me go back to some of these comments. We're going to go a few more minutes and then we're going to end this. Let's see. TJ said, I've recently realized that I'm not okay. And it's okay to not be okay because the truth is most of us are not okay.
It's so okay not to be okay. Yeah.
But you know what? I've had, like I said, I didn't realize this, but I just, like I said, I avoid things and I did not realize that. And even I had to do an Enneagram personality test for work. And the biggest trait in my personality is that I am one of those people that I turn pessimism or negative things, I try to turn them into positive. I know that I do it with people. You know, I always see the good, you know, a lot of times in people, even when they're showing something differently. And I've realized like it's the avoidance of pain, but I don't feel like it. So I'm getting to the core of that. Then I looked at my Myers-Briggs, my personality type. It matched identical to that. I never did a personality test with my therapist, but everything matches up with what she's saying and what she's identifying. So I know she's on point. And the thing is, some of these things I know, but I haven't been able to articulate it. Or I haven't been able to organize it in my head. It's like it's there. So when they say it, it's like, that's it. That's it. But I haven't been able to really get to the root of it on my own.
And I just want to say too, in having those aha moments, I know that in looking at my heart and trying to examine my heart and where I am, and in collaboration with therapy, because yes, I am still in therapy. I will probably always be in therapy, whether it's every month, whether it's once a year, whether it's every 3 to 6 months, whatever. The one thing that I love about it is now that I'm identifying some things that's going on with me, I am so willing to correct those things. And when they're brought to my attention, I'm big on I'm sorry. Like, I don't, to me, it's funny. I don't understand when people don't know how to apologize, or they have an issue with apologizing. Like, to me, that's really crazy to know for certain that you've done something to someone to offend them or hurt them or upset them in some kind of way, and somehow you can't say I'm sorry. That is the weirdest thing to me, but it exists, and I know that. I was with a young lady last week, and she sensed some heaviness in my heart, and she said, I need to pray with you. I said, okay, yes, let's pray. And I mean, this girl prayed, like, messed me all the way up. I wasn't expecting that. I just went to go get my hair done. And so she told me something. She said to me, you're dealing with something that you do not need to deal with any longer. You need to figure out how to separate your ties, because what's happening is you're taking it out on your husband. You're snapping on him, and he doesn't even know why, which completely took me out, because girl, I don't talk to you like that. How you know that? But I know that came from the Lord. So, I had to get with my husband later on that night. Baby, I'm sorry. I apologize. I had some prayer today. This is what the woman taught. And, he's like, it's okay. It's okay. I said, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. Number one, it's not okay that she tell me that and I don't come back to you and apologize. That's never okay to me. Second of all, whatever I have going on, I don't need to put off on him. I need to do exactly what she told me to do. And I know the exact situation she's talking about. I need to sever my ties with that, get that off of me, get that off of my spirit, so I don't carry it back into my marriage and into my home. And to me, that's the biggest thing. Because, every family gonna have a thing like that, that's just family. But if you know that you're bringing something that causes the atmosphere to shift in not necessarily a negative way, but not a loving way either, you need to fix that. That needs to be fixed. And at the end of the day, I want my boys to be holistically, I want them to be well. Yeah. I want them to be able to thrive. And if I want that, that starts with me. That starts in my home.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. One of the things, hold on, let me see. Cedric said, sometimes you have to relinquish your control in order to get better. Shakira says, getting too good. Says, sip on. I'm trying to my mama said, slow down. I have learned, Demisha said, I have learned to take responsibility for the part that I have played in situations. I'm gonna come back to that. That's good. Anya, I feel like I'm not okay most of the time. We get regular checkups with every part of our bodies except the brain and the heart. You're right. Not the physical heart, but the heart. Heart checks. Most people don't realize that vulnerability is a strength and not a weakness. Mom said, it feels so good to be free. Daddy said, great session. Clomisha said, you all have blessed my soul to know I am not alone. I have hid my feelings and emotions for years until this year. The pandemic saved my life. It allowed me to recognize my truth. That is so good. And I'm glad that you're getting to that place. And it's a journey. It definitely is. Judy said therapy can also be a close friend who is like family that will listen and who can be vulnerable around and let your guard down and just cry it out. That means so much and helps in so many ways. Sherry said, I'm so excited about this chat to be almost 73. I could see a lot of things that I need to do, but it's a life journey. And this is what it comes down to. When you said this in your statement, Malika, for me, one of the things I was able to identify when I started checking my heart is that a lot of things that were not of God and that were in my heart and were toxic, I tried to explain it away, blame it away, or justify it. And it comes to a point where when you're sitting there, you can't explain and blame everything away. Some things it's you. And then when you start dealing with those things, like you said with your husband, your relationship, you start realizing this has nothing to do with him. It's me.
All
and
me.
One of the biggest mistakes that people make, and I did this in one of my relationships, we were having some issues, and I was like, you know what, we need couples therapy. So we're not even married. I was like, let's go to couples therapy. So girl, I find us a therapist and we go to couples therapy. Baby, I paid if we had like 10 to 15 sessions or something. By the third time I walked out of there, I said, sir, I will not be back. I said, I'm going to pay you the full. I paid everything in full. I said, keep the money. I will not be back. But what I realized is that we were dealing with issues when we needed to have our own separate counseling. Like we ain't here trying to counsel together, but we got some individual work we need to do before we try to come and figure this out together. So there's no need to keep coming back. And I think that's what a lot of people do. They try to do this thing together, and I think you can, but what I'm saying is so many issues, because you come into relationships, not just talking about romantic relationships, but friendships, mother daughter, father son, all of those, and you're coming in with these different perspectives and these other issues, and you're blaming each other or blaming other people because you don't understand the root. And so throughout therapy, it's easier when you can get to the core. One of the things that causes a bad heart is, and it talks about this in the book, when somebody is having a heart issue, or they're having issues and doctor wants to see if it's their heart, they do a test, and it's called it start with an ARC? Oh gosh, what's it called? Like a ARC.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Arteriogram.
Yeah.
They do an arteriogram, and that's when they use an X-ray and they shoot this dye through your arteries, and they see how far it goes. And whenever the dye slows down, that means it's a blockage somewhere. And then they'll have to go through and put a stent or decide if you have to have heart surgery. It's the same thing. A lot of times when they do that, they're able to pinpoint because the flow changes and it slows down. It's the same thing with your life. When you're trying to identify where things are clogged or where there are heart issues with you, a lot of times when things stop flowing so smoothly and you start feeling like a lot of people are saying in the comments, like, I'm not okay. They can't tell you what's wrong, but they can identify something ain't right. I'm not okay. The flow changes.
That's that blockage.
It's the blockage. And so unfortunately, it takes that blockage sometimes to be able to identify where things are getting stuck and where things aren't moving in your life or in your heart, for you to be able to know how to identify it and what needs to be done. And so I'm getting ready to end this, but just a couple other things I wanted to touch on before we go, because it's good. It was so good to me. This book is amazing. I'm telling y'all, if y'all go get this book and join us with this discussion next time, it'll be even more fun and more revealing, because you'll be able to really get with us and understand some of the things and engage with us in this conversation. And I appreciate y'all so much. So in one of the things it said in the book, it was talking about how, when we were talking about how to identify, because I really want, before we come back next Monday, I really want you all to ask yourselves this question. Don't just get on here. The book is called Enemies of the Heart by Andy Stanley. Don't just get on here and talk with us and listen to us, but really get off of here and ask yourself, like, where in my heart, what are the enemies in my heart? Where are the blockages? Yes, I'll put it. Can somebody put that in the comments for me? Enemies of the Heart by Andy Stanley. Excellent book. He has a lot of great books, but that's the one we're talking about. But a lot of times, like we said, when we're trying to identify things, it comes in the things that you said when you start asking your questions and those internal battles. I can't believe I just said that. That's not like me. Well, actually, if you said it and you did it, a lot of times it is like you. And it talks about when those things start slipping, he calls it slippages. Sometimes we feel like the slippage, like that was an exception. That's not normally who I am. And he talks about how it's not necessarily an exception. It's a reflection of what's in your heart. So we try to act like I normally don't do that. But the thing is, we normally don't expose ourselves to the rest of the world. We're hiding it. And so when you do things like that, it's a reflection and not an exception, a one-off thing.
And then sometimes too, it could be something that's needed to be said. I said something last week to someone, and I had that same like, oh, Malika, why did you say that? And then immediately in my spirit, it was like, you should have been said it. It's because you hadn't said it. Yeah. You need to speak. You need to start talking. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what is it necessarily a bad thing? But I'm so used to not expressing myself to this particular person that when I did say it was almost foreign, but it shouldn't have been. It should have been something that I should have communicated a while ago. What I love about, really just looking at, the heart and issues of the heart, Malika, how was your communication? Are you really talking? Are you really saying what you feel like after prayer you need to say? Like, what's going on? And I realized I've been so silenced in my life, not because I was necessarily made to be silenced, but because I felt like I just needed to be, for many different reasons, that I just kind of stopped talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's all coming to a head now. That's all coming.
This has been a great conversation. This has been a great conversation. So I want you all to think, it was a movie called Liar Liar by Jim Carrey.
Oh,
and
I love that movie.
Remember the movie Liar Liar, Jim Carrey, I can't remember how it happened, but I don't know if he woke up one morning, whatever it was. No, his son made a wish that he wouldn't be able to lie.
Yeah.
And so he lost the ability to lie. And so he was just going out and blurting out things, but that's how it happens with it. What if God muted you or took off your filter?
Oh, Jesus.
Not your photo filter, but took your filter off your mouth, and you couldn't lie, and you couldn't fake it, and you couldn't pretend. Can you imagine what people would see about you and what would be exposed about your heart? Can you? Oh gosh, I would be so embarrassed about some of the things that would probably come out of my heart. And the thing is, if we were not able to control our tongues like that, and if all of that stuff was exposed, how hard will we actually work to fix our hearts?
That's good.
Because they're going to be exposed. If you cannot prepare, how hard would you actually work to fix the conditions of your heart? And so nobody likes no one wants to admit that I have a heart problem. That's one of the hardest things, because we feel like we have all of these things over here that are great. And I've done that. Like, why do all this other stuff is good? It doesn't matter if it's 1,000 things that I'm doing good. But if this place in my heart is holding me back and it's causing me to have issues with the people I love and the people in my life, I need to fix it. I got to fix it.
But see, the thing is, if you're human, you have a heart problem. Yeah, you have had a heart problem, or you will have a heart problem, because we're human. So to sit and think that we don't, no, that's not wisdom, because everyone does, because we're human. Figure out what it is and do what you need to do.
Yeah. And it's a scripture, Ezekiel 36:26. And that's the scripture that talks about that God will give you a clean heart, a new heart. And it said, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. So somebody put that in the chat, please, so people can go back and read that for themselves. Ezekiel 36:26. And the thing about it, and the thing that we're going to talk about in the weeks to come, because we're talking about this is a great start to the conversation, but we really want to make sure that you all are getting some help, because this book, I'm telling you, it has changed my life.
Mine too.
It has changed my life, and really helped me to examine things in my heart that I didn't realize were issues. And so the book really starts talking about solutions. And the reason it's called The Enemies of the Heart is because there are 4 areas that the book talks about, and we'll come back and talk about these things throughout the weeks. But these are the enemies that Andy Stanley identifies as the things that hold us back and makes our heart toxic. Is guilt, is anger, greed, and jealousy. And I'm sure that many of us, all of us, not many of us, if you read that, you will find yourself in 1, 2, 3, or maybe all 4.
Right.
but you're going to find yourself somewhere in that, whether you want to admit it or not. And once you realize you have a heart problem, you can either let it go until it kills you and makes everything else around you toxic and destroys and kills relationships, or you can find the solutions and do what you need to do. And what he calls them, when he starts giving the solutions, is he calls them heart habits. You have to create new heart habits.
Yes.
And we will talk about that. It's hard work, y'all. It's hard work, and it's hard work.
Yes.
Hard work, and it's hard work. And one other scripture that I want to leave with you all, it's Jeremiah 17:9. It says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? Mm-hmm. And when I read that scripture, it really helped me. I read that a couple of weeks ago when I was in after one of my sessions. And when I left the section, I was just feeling like, man, like all these issues just started feeling like they were coming out that I didn't even know were issues. And when I read that, I realized, like, the Lord told us this is what it's going to be, you know? And I think sometimes, especially for newer Christians, when you're new in your faith, and we think that because we accept, I'm looking at my phone, looking at the comments, I'm sorry, I forgot about you. We're thinking about salvation, and, you know, we accept Christ, and they say that God is going to give us a new heart, and we go into this excited that we're just going to be this great person. God is going to turn our hearts and all of that. And it's true, he will. However, one of the things that keeps us, we're always going to be a work in process. And so it's not enough to know what to do. We have to be willing to change it from the inside out and be willing to follow through. And sometimes we allow God into our hearts, but we don't give him full access to it. And that's the key. Allowing him in your heart and giving him full access to do what needs to be done, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how painful. Because on the other end of that, when you get all those blockages out and remove those barriers and those things that are keeping you from being who God created you to be, it's a freedom and a liberation that comes along with that.
You can't even describe it. You can't even describe it. Two or three people within the last 48 hours have been, Malika, you're glowing. And I'm like, but it's the way they're saying it. And I know I got, some little bronzer on, give me a little glowy look. But I know what they're saying, because what I know is when a person tells me I'm glowing, either A, I'm pregnant, which no, I am not and will not be anymore, or B, I'm doing some spiritual work. Mm-hmm. That's what I know. And I've been able to do some things as of lately that has given me that freedom. And Jesus, just not to, I feel light. I'm not carrying that weight anymore. And I wake up. So when you asked me earlier how my heart was, and I said, yes, it was heavy, but I'm grateful. That is why I'm grateful. Because I'm like, thank you, God. I am not dealing with certain things or feeling a certain type of way or being in certain type of environment. Like, thank you, God, that I've been able to set those healthy boundaries and I don't have to deal with certain things anymore. Because when you give that over, when you release those heart issues to God, and like you said, giving him full access to your heart, the freedom that comes with that, man, I can't even put it into words. It's amazing though.
And when you have that freedom, it frees and liberates people around you in your household, because when you're in bondage, they're in bondage, you know, and it keeps everybody down. And so thank you all so much. We're going to end this. This was a great discussion. A couple things I want to leave you with. Like I said, we will be back next Monday, but make sure you all go back, read the chat, check out those scriptures that we shared. I want y'all to come back next week and tell me, how was this week? I really want y'all to go deep and ask yourself, how is my heart? And if it's hard to answer that, think about, like I said, if God was to remove the filter, what would you say just during the week when you have those negative thoughts? Just be thinking, ooh, is that my heart? Is that my heart? What if if that just came out? How would I feel? Would I be embarrassed? And if you would be embarrassed by the things that you're thinking and the things that you're doing, then you have a heart issue.
Yeah, for sure.
And you need to work on it. And so just really think about that, and think about the things in your heart, the things in your life that you feel are blocking you and preventing you from being who God wants you to be. Even start thinking before we go deep about those areas of greed and jealousy and what was it? Greed, jealousy, anger, and guilt.
Yeah.
Do you fall in any of those areas? So we went longer, but I got a feeling the next couple of weeks is going to be longer because it's so much information. And it may not just be me and Malika. I might be pulling some of y'all from the chat to come join us. I might even get on here one day and just go straight to live on Facebook. I think you might be able to bring people on camera more than 2 now. I'm not sure. I'll check it out and let you all know. But thank you all. Let me read the last comments and then we're going to go. Cedric was saying how God actually did this with Zephaniah, going back a little bit, because he didn't believe God to have a son in his old age and he shut Zephaniah's mouth. Yep, he sure did. Angela said we better fix it if we love God, because I think she said something earlier about how your heart can hold you back. We better fix our heart if we want God to fix other things in our lives. That's true.
Oh, for sure.
That's it. Thank you for your transparency. If we hear you, this can help us get free. Absolutely. It will give you peace. Great discussion. So we talked about therapy. Several of you all were really interested in therapy. Therapists, if you all are interested in therapy, it's a website called psychologytoday.com. I think it's Psychology Today. And go there and just kind of read through. You can click. They just have psychologists and therapists from all over. You can put in your zip code if you want somebody local, if you want somebody out of town. One of the things that helped me back, because I was like, I can't afford no $125 because I need to go weekly. I can't afford $125, but my insurance covered it. I only pay like $30 a session, you know, and then these people, like some therapists like mine, she has a sliding scale if you don't have insurance, but do not let that hinder you. Because we go and we spend $35 on shoes, on a meal and all that stuff. But if you could spend $35 to get free a month or whatever it costs you, even going once a month, you might have to start off with once a month or once every 4 or 5 weeks, whatever you have to do. It's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. So please share this live because more people need to see this. I might remove it and put it on YouTube because I'm trying to lead people back to my YouTube because that's where I store all of the lives and you can just go and look at any of the ones we've had in the past. But we will return next Monday at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I just really appreciate you. We all can keep this conversation going in the comments after this is over if you like. I love you all and thank you.
Let me say this. Let me say this one thing. I'm sorry, Dewan. If I think in the comments somebody said they wanted Linda's number. If that is the case, just inbox me and I will get you that information. I'm also familiar with a therapist that is based out of Nashville. She is a Black woman, middle-aged. Though she is not my therapist, I know several people that I trust and know that go to her. Both of them, Miss Linda, who is here in Florida, and the young lady that I'm speaking of in Nashville, of course, they do Zoom. I found my therapist based off of referral. I know that you can go and look and search, but I kind of felt a little bit better about, okay, if I know somebody who's been, let me see how their sessions are, and then I'll go from there. So yeah, if you want that information, just send me a message and I'll get that information to you for both if that's what you desire.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you. Because I do not want, you really need to do your research. Don't just go on Psychology Today and just be choosing people. Mine was through a referral too, but they sent me the link to Psychology Today. So that's how I want it. So it is better sometimes when you have other people who refer you. And the thing about some therapists, they'll do a consultation with you. And if you get a good therapist, they might tell you, you know what, I'm probably not the best one for you. They put their credentials, they put their expertise up there. Like I said, some of them have specific things. If you have OCD, if you have ADHD, if you have depression, there are certain therapists who specialize in certain things. And so a good therapist will do a consultation and be honest and say, hey, you know what? I have a referral, but I'm probably not the best one to treat you or to, serve you. So if you want some information on some particular ones, let me know as well, and I will get you a list of some that I would recommend. All right. Well, thank you all. Thanks for joining us. Thank you so much, Malika. I love you, lady. And you all have a good night. Don't forget to share.
Yes, thank you. Good night.
Good night.